Welcome to Channel Japan. I'm Maki Arai.
And I'm Makiko Tsuda.
Every week we bring you the freshest information out of Japan right here from our studio in Tokyo.
From the economy to culture and even foods, if you want to find out what's happening in Japan right now, this is where you'll find it.
And these are our topics for today. As always, we have some interesting stories to share with you, so make sure you stay with us. So let's get started. First up is Executive Insight. So Utsuda-san, what's our topic today?
Yes, today we look at a company involved in biomedicine. They're called Anges MG, and they developed something called genetic medicine.
Well, biomedicine is a field that I believe is difficult for most of us to understand.
Yes, I agree. So let me explain a little bit. Biomedicines are those that are developed by applying techniques such as genetic recombination and cell culturing. And treatments using biomedical techniques include regenerative medicine, which involves culturing cells outside the body and transplanting them.
Well, iPS cell research that Japanese professor Shinya Yamanaka won the Nobel Prize for is also in the field of regenerative medicine.
Exactly. And these types of medical products are becoming increasingly widespread. And I have a chart over here showing the global market for biomedical products. And in 2011, it exceeded $150 billion, and it's forecast to reach $200 billion by 2016.
That is a big jump.
It is, isn't it? And if you look at the top 10 medicines by sales in 2011, 4 were biomedicines, and in 2012 that had increased to 7. And a major factor behind this is the patents for conventional medicines expiring, and that has spurred sales of biogeneric.
So are they being made by pharmaceutical companies?
Well, actually, biomedicines are developed and manufactured by universities and also companies invested in by venture capitalists.
Well, I understand the company we'll be hearing from today actually began as a university startup with the aim of commercializing gene therapy drugs.
Yes, you're right. And compared to the United States or Europe, Japan lags behind in the research and development of biomedicine. So the challenge is for Japanese companies is to how to catch up and better compete with global rivals. So we find out how the president of Anges MG, Ei Yamada, plans to tackle this issue. So take a look.
Executive Insight. In Japan's second largest city of Osaka, there's a facility to cultivate biomedical entrepreneurs. In one section lies the headquarters of Anges MG. We were shown inside. Here they are carrying out cutting-edge research into genetic pharmaceutical products. One such drug may one day do away with the need to carry out amputative surgery. The company president, Ei Yamada, was formerly a researcher of a pharmaceutical maker involved in the development of new medicines. He speaks to us about his company's growth strategy.
What are you doing here? We're subculturing the cells we've grown. In other words, we culture generations upon generations of cells in a petri dish to see the effects of a drug. It's a very important process in making various discoveries. I understand that it's central to biomedicine. You could say that things we can't attempt with the human body are being done in vitro or inside a petri dish. It's very interesting. It may seem like traditional science, but it's definitely extremely fun because this is where we make many discoveries.
The company is currently researching a drug called Colotigen. Until now, there was no treatment for necrosis of the lower limbs from narrowed or blocked blood vessels due to diseases such as diabetes. In extreme cases, amputation had been the only option. When Colotigen is introduced to the necrotic area, new blood vessels are created, helping to promote circulation.
I'd like to ask you about the possibilities of the genetic treatments that you're developing. I've been told that your core drug, Colotigen, helps to regenerate blood vessels. Would you tell us about its effectiveness? Collatogen was discovered as a growth factor of human liver cells. We're now starting to understand that it has various potential uses. One of our discoveries was that it generates new blood vessels.
The company believes 10,000 people in Japan every year can avoid amputative surgery through the use of collatogen. They also estimate that the disease potentially afflicts 100,000 people. But is this drug truly safe?
Collatogen has been administered to patients in Japan and the United States in 200 cases, and at the very least, we know there are no side effects of significant concern. This gene and a protein called HGF it produces is a protein that functions in the human body from the moment we're born until we die. So, we believe it's highly unlikely for this gene to cause harm to the body, barring exceptional circumstances.
Anjus MG was founded in 1999 to commercialize gene drugs being developed by Osaka University. The effort was led by Professor Ryuichi Morishita. But at the time, they were unable to find companies willing to invest in the unprecedented research. It was then that current president A. Yamada joined the company. Mr. Yamada's hope was to keep cutting-edge research in Japan from being neglected. It all began when he realized the wide lead the United States had over Japan while working for a pharmaceutical maker carrying out a joint project with a U.S. biomedical venture.
At the time, I was drawing up a plan on a breast cancer drug with Genentech, a U.S. biomedical venture. Each side put together its own protocols. Our goal was the same, but they wrote that they would complete the process in 3 months. We wrote that it would take 12 months, even with our best efforts. But once we started Genentech, really completed everything in 3 months. It was nothing for them. Like baseball players, they brought in all the experts in that field. I felt that was the way to win. So, the difference was management ability. I believe so. Professor Shinya Yamanaka's Nobel Prize was a major feat. As far as basic research goes, like in the case of Professor Yamanaka, I believe Japan is at a level comparable to the U.S. The problem is commercialization. There's still a wide gap.
When compared side by side, the U.S. has 15 times more publicly listed biomedical ventures than Japan, with market capitalization of 150 times. A freshly minted startup needs deep pockets to continue developing new drugs. To get that funding, Anjus MG went public in its third year on the second board of the Tokyo Stock Exchange. For Mr. Yamada, who was originally a researcher, it was not an easy decision.
The reason we had to go public, and this isn't limited to our company alone, is because pharmaceutical businesses require huge development funds. That's the main point. Banks would only be able to lend us about $20 million. Unfortunately, you can't develop a drug with $20 million. We needed a process to collect funds from a wide group of investors by seeking a listing.
After going public, the company needed to secure more funds and build up its reputation. So Mr. Yamada decided to partner with major pharmaceutical firms in Japan.
One reason was because, as a private company, whenever we went overseas, people were unwilling to fully trust us, and we found it difficult to build business relationships. But once we told them we were listed in Japan, they would be more willing to listen to and work with us. It made me realize the importance of being a public company.
Under the alliance, the company handed over the marketing rights to their partner. But they kept firm control of research and development.
Medicine isn't a world where ideas and inspiration alone produce results. The key is how well you can define empirical rules by carrying out trials over an extended period and learning from your errors. I believe, at the minimum, young companies like us need to partner with a major firm. But at the same time, I would like them to allow us to follow our ideas freely. That's why we joined hands with them. We will continue to emphasize our central role in research.
In 2013, Biomedical Ventures received a big boost. The Japanese government announced that medicine would be a key sector under its economic growth strategy and pledged to loosen restrictions. As a result, the approval system for new drugs in Japan may become one of the most streamlined in the world.
Since 2013, in anticipation of revisions to the Pharmaceutical Affairs Law, we've been considering carrying out additional trials for Clotogin to gain approval in the domestic market.
At what stage will you apply for approval, and what's the timeline for commercialization?
We have a basic schedule in mind and expect to carry out clinical trials for about a year and put it in an application in 2015.
The company is hoping to gain approval for the drug at the earliest possible date. Their aim is the global market.
For products such as Clotogin, which we are developing, the Japanese market is by no means big. The US and European markets are obviously bigger. So, from a management standpoint of locking in profits, international expansion is essential. Going forward, we're planning to more aggressively seek partnerships with overseas companies.
I understand that there aren't that many gene therapy drugs around the world. What is your strategy to remain a leading company globally in this field?
Of course, we want to stay that way, especially in terms of arteriosclerosis. There are several 100,000 patients in the US and Europe. So, I'm confident Clotogin will grow into a big business with sales exceeding $1 billion globally.
Can Japanese gene therapy drugs make a mark in the global market? Biomedical startups across the country will be put to the test.
Mitsubishi Electric is helping to change the environment for the better around the world.
Green subway systems in India.
Green solar power systems in Singapore.
Sistem AC ramah lingkungan di Indonesia.
Eco changes for a greener tomorrow. Mitsubishi Electric.
As the future evolves, Toyota is envisioning a more interconnected life where information and energy flow seamlessly throughout the globe. The road ahead will require diverse and eco-friendly mobility solutions. It is on this path that our small choices lead to big changes. Life. Connected. Toyota.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could do this? We make things like this possible through the power of chemistry. We're the Kaiteki Company, Mitsubishi Chemical Holdings.
SG Holdings began as a delivery company in Kyoto in 1957. We have grown to provide a wide variety of key business services, including logistical support, all across Japan. Reliability and achievement have defined and distinguished us on the Japanese business scene. With heartfelt bonds that connect us to each and every one of our customers. The passage of time has seen our sphere of operations expand from Japan into Asia and across the globe. We will continue to strive to link up people while supporting businesses worldwide. We will also create new value that contributes to a brighter and more expansive future. We make it our mission to connect people and companies around the world. SG Holdings.
Asia, the engine of the global economy. Japan, a regional powerhouse. And now, direct from Japan, economic news with a global impact in Chinese, delivered by Nikkei. Read the future, lead the economy. Nikkei, Japan's leading media for business.
You're watching Channel Japan. Up next, we bring you an episode from TV Tokyo's World Business Satellite.
And spending on pets has been on the rise in recent years, and the market is now worth about $14 billion.
Well, I know that many people consider pets as an integral part of their family, doting on them like their own children or their grandchildren. But what kind of things do they actually do to spend money on?
Well, medical treatment is one, when they're sick or when they're injured, training and grooming, and also fashion. And there are now services for pets that are no different from what are offered for us humans. And we have a report on this growing trend, so take a look.
A park in Kanagawa Prefecture on one weekend. A large group of people and their pets have gotten together.
This is about doing a little extra on our daily walks, which we do only for the sake of our dogs. The main theme of the event is to make these walks, the time we spend, beneficial for human health as well.
This event, sponsored by the Japan Human Dog Walking Association, is called Dog Walking Festa. It was held for the first time in collaboration with the Kanagawa prefectural government, which is encouraging residents to engage in healthy activities.
Okay, let's start.
Professional instructors make sure that the group is walking at 6 kilometers per hour, considered to be the optimum speed for good human health. On this day, over 40 owners and pets walked a 1.5-kilometer course.
When I take my dog out for a walk, it's mostly to give him exercise. But today, my whole mindset and walking method changed.
Of course, the highest priority for some owners was the health of their pets.
It was a long walk and tough, but I learned a lot. I want to make sure my dog lives a long time.
The advances in veterinary science, the growing number of dogs kept indoors, and development of pet food. There's now a good environment for them to live longer.
Dogs now live 14 years on average. Better care has helped extend the lifespan of pets. Haneda Airport at night.
This is a facility where dogs actually spend the night.
This airport has a hotel where owners can leave their pets while traveling. There are about 70 rooms. And in the back,
These are the first-class rooms.
about 4 square meters. The first-class room costs $210 a night and comes with an aromatic massage service. There's another feature that Haneda Airport can offer because it's open 24 hours a day. It's just after 11 p.m.
Welcome back.
Owners can come, drop off, and pick up their pets anytime between 6 a.m. and 11:30 p.m.
This time I went to South Korea. It's close by and I was on a budget, so I flew economy class, even though my dog stayed in first class. It's a bit extravagant, but I'm sure they really enjoyed it.
We'll be waiting for you. Come back again. We're almost fully booked during the New Year holidays. The first-class rooms fill up first.
High-quality pet care can also be found at residential buildings. Mayumi Nishi is a homemaker living in Kawasaki. Coming back from a walk, they first go to a space near the entrance where pets can get their feet and other parts washed. And after they go inside,
Today we'll be giving him a grooming service.
inside the condominium is a pet grooming facility. People who live here can use this service free of charge 5 days a month.
My dog can get groomed, and many people here have dogs, so it's a lot more convenient than other condos that allow pets.
This is a rental condominium for people and pets managed by Ad Hoc. 70% of residents own a pet, with occupancy near 100%.
It depends on the property, but our prices are generally about 10% higher than those in the surrounding area. We manage about 2,000 units nationwide, but are aiming to double or triple that number.
Spaces for people to acquire trimming skills to groom their own pets are also popping up across the country. This is a training class held in central Tokyo.
This is called the undercoat. It's fluffy and gets tangled easily. Make sure to brush this part every day.
The owners themselves are learning how to groom their pets. This canine cram school where professionals give lessons was opened last November.
Do it from the front so the water doesn't go into the nose. Make sure to wash the eyes too.
The shampooing lesson is $600 for 12 sessions. Hair trimming is $1,200 for 24 sessions.
If possible, I'd like to groom and care for my dog all by myself.
They say such knowledge can be useful in handling problems specific to aging dogs.
The shop said they can't accept my dog if it becomes unable to stand on its own.
Old dogs that can't be groomed in a shop must be cared for by their owners. Students here are allowed to use the facilities outside of lessons.
Students say they tried doing it themselves, but couldn't do it well. I know a lot of people whose dogs developed skin problems because they were washed in a wrong way. I hope to gradually expand our business nationwide.
Medical care for pets is also becoming more advanced. On this day, Shiho Shimo brings her 2 Pomeranians to the vet.
Today is our annual dog medical checkup.
A dog is a full medical examination for dogs.
Today we'll be giving her an X-ray blood checkup and an ultrasound.
They say the body fat exam, X-ray, ultrasound and other checks help in the early detection of diseases. The program takes about 30 to 40 minutes and costs about $200 at this clinic.
The interest in animal health is completely different now. Checkups for pets begin at 1 year of age, and actually, a lot of adolescent illnesses are found.
Ms. Shimo gets the results of the exam. So how did she do?
There's quite a thick layer of fat here, and around the neck as well. I'll cut back on the snacks.
Eon Pet operates a chain of pet shops that offer a range of services, including veterinary clinics. In the future, they plan to extend their pet care services.
We believe the pet care market is an extremely big opportunity. We consider pet care a socially significant mission and an issue that we need to proactively address.
Pet care is a market that appears to be barking ahead.
Did you see that little doggy's face when he was getting his massage done? I mean, massage is a luxurious service for, for human beings too, but the pets get it done.
I know, and it's not just that. There are other services, such as a kindergarten for dogs, where owners can leave their pet dogs or canines in the care of a professional dog trainer.
A kindergarten.
Kindergarten. And they'll not only teach dogs to obey basic commands like stay or sit, but also provide advice on their diet, create a training program based on their personalities and age, and they even have a bus service to pick up your dog.
Wow, a doggy school bus. So how much does it all cost?
Well, for small dogs, the admission fee is about $300, and then the program of 48 lesson is about $4,000, and they say they handle about 40 dogs a day.
Well, I guess no expense is spared when you consider your pet to be your own child.
True.
But what's behind this growing industry?
Well, according to one survey, there are about 11.5 million pet dogs and nearly 10 million pet cats in Japan. That's more than the population of children of 15 years old and younger.
I see. So with the population shrinking and people having less children, I guess it may look like a more attractive business. But even so, are there any challenges for the industry?
Well, one big problem is that some people casually buy pets and actually abandon them illegally when they can't take care of them anymore. So, Pet Industry Group has been promoting the use of microchips, and they're about 2 millimeters by 12 millimeters, and they're implanted under the skin, making it possible to read identification numbers and locate the owners.
Well, that seems a bit intrusive. Doesn't it hurt?
Well, they say it's implanted in a way that that's no different from getting an injection, and many pets are said to be quite calm during the process. And there are now moves to make it mandatory for owners to have their pets implanted with a microchip.
That seems to be a good idea. I imagine microchips would help owners find the lost pets too. And after the break, we bring you industrial heritage.
Through its World Heritage educational programs, Panasonic is teaching children the importance of protecting the environment. By supporting the conservation of World Heritage sites and providing environmental education, Panasonic is helping the next generation to achieve a sustainable lifestyle.
Panasonic.
Mitsui & Company.
Hey, look at this. They're building a huge steel plant with Kobelco technology.
Kobelco? Never heard of it.
It's Japanese. They can make iron with incredible speed. What once took 8 hours can be done in just 10 minutes.
Wow, the Japanese are incredible. The country of karate.
Ha! 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 Karate has nothing to do with it.
True.
The talk of the world. Kobelco.
Trading card games transcend generations as well as borders. Trading card games will unite the world. However, the possibilities do not simply end there. Trading card games combine the different forms of entertainment, and fun will link the world as one. Bushiroad.
Traditional.
Consistent.
Precise.
Speedy.
Professional. Innovative.
Polite. Quality from Japan. The best of business in Asia. SMBC. Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation.
Sasuke, a new type of sports entertainment program conquering the world.
It's about human achievement and people's passions, and I think that relates to almost everybody.
From Japan to the world, Ninja Warrior, Tokyo Broadcasting System.
You're watching Channel Japan. Next, we bring you an episode from Industrial Heritage.
Yes, today we'll be looking at Hokkaido again, and this is where Hokkaido is in Japan. Now, first I want to ask you, are you familiar with the phrase, boys be ambitious?
Yes, that's a phrase I believe most Japanese people are familiar with. It's a saying by William Smith Clark.
Yes, you're right. And Professor Clark was actually the pioneer of modern agriculture in Hokkaido, and he taught students at a college here the American style of dairy farming. And they say meals at the dormitory were also prepared in an American style.
Well, Western food is commonplace now, but back then I imagine it must have been quite strange for Japanese people.
I would think so too. And today we look at the history of Hokkaido that helped bring Western influences to Japanese food culture. So take a look.
Wow, the selection is overwhelming. You definitely get the feeling of Hokkaido's strong food culture here.
Immediately after arriving, we're bombarded by the vast selection of souvenirs.
We've just arrived and have many places to visit. But I want to do some shopping too.
The shops at the airport carry numerous dairy products, such as cheese and butter. Some can only be bought here, and there is a steady stream of customers. This man is holding a basket full of cheese.
They're only sold here and are delicious. I got some once and have been looking for them since. I always buy them here. They're my favorite.
And a Sapporo specialty, ramen. Of course, it's topped with butter.
This is the most popular. The rich taste of Hokkaido ramen goes well with butter.
Japanese tastes have become ever more diversified. Tracing the roots of this expanding food culture again leads us back to the hardships of the early pioneers. Following the Meiji Restoration, the new government turned to specialists invited from the United States. Among them was Horace Kipron, who was appointed a development advisor and laid the foundations of Hokkaido agriculture. Capron decided the cold temperatures of Hokkaido made it unsuited to rice cultivation prevalent on the main island, and began promoting North American-style agriculture such as dry field and livestock farming. With those changes, the people came in contact with Western culture for the first time. Food, in particular, quickly became Westernized. Central to it all was milk. And what rooted this formerly foreign concept of dairy farming in Japan was William Smith Clark's Sapporo Agricultural College.
Dairy products spread through Japan from here, even though they're now commonplace.
The dairy farming techniques introduced by the school brought big changes to the food culture of Japan. In Industrial Heritage, this time we trace the history of dairy farming in Hokkaido and the westernization of Japanese food. The story begins here. The Sapporo Agricultural College, the predecessor of Hokkaido University. Welcomed as the first president was William Smith Clark. Dr. Clark was formerly the president of the Massachusetts Agricultural College. He was a leading expert in agricultural education. Showing us around is a former professor of Hokkaido University, Munehiro Takai. This is considered the birthplace of Japanese dairy farming. Preserved here are a group of structures modeled on an American livestock farm, including a barn.
That big structure is the main building and is called the model barn.
What do you mean by model barn?
A barn is a place where livestock is raised. Dr. Clark wanted Japanese people to use this as a model for building barns.
The model barn is a two-floor structure. The first floor is where the cows are kept.
This is where the dairy cows give birth. It's a bit steep.
And on the second floor,
今いろいろ展示してありますけど、これはちょっと後にしてもらって、まず建物の構造の方だからいきますと、牧草を運ぶ。
The second floor is where the grass is stored. In an actual barn, there's a slope wide enough for a wagon to pass. It would be piled with grass and pulled by a horse. Then the grass is dropped down both sides. It would be a lot of work for people to go up to the second floor. So this was designed to save on manpower.
労働が楽になると、そういう特徴を持たせてあるんです。
A horse-drawn wagon here?
だからここはずっと
Just imagine piles of grass on both sides.
山になってると思ってもらえば。
And when feeding the grass to the cows, they say this door is used. When opened, the grass can be dropped into the feed box without having to carry it downstairs.
そういう構造になってますね。
そうなんですか。なんかとても
Wow, it was designed to be extremely efficient.
This idea was something that no one had come up with in Japan at the time.
実践をして、
そういうことになると思うんです。
Hands-on training must have been a great learning experience.
Learning through practice. That was Dr. Clark's concept of agricultural education. Under that idea, the students used large American-style equipment and animals and experienced a new type of farming. This practice-focused education also dramatically transformed the lives of the students.
Everyone lived in the dormitory and under Dr. Clark's instructions. All the food that was served became westernized. The biggest reason was for students themselves to learn and become familiar with the food by eating what they produced on their farms.
At Hokkaido University, instructions issued by Dr. Clark still remain. One is about food served in the dormitory. It says, from tomorrow morning, all food should be westernized. Later records show that the Western food continued to be served even after Dr. Clark's departure. In this way, the students absorbed Western food culture together with new dairy farming methods.
Here, the milk that they got from cows was turned into butter and cheese, which they were made to eat. But at first, something like cheese would have tasted extremely sour for them. So the wives who accompanied the foreign teachers made cookies and other things. That's how the uses of milk expanded.
So this is a place from where milk spread across Japan. Now dairy products are so commonplace.
From the Sapporo Agricultural College came a logical system of dairy farming and a new Western food culture. There was one man who helped build the model barn and is considered the father of dairy farming. Makomanai, in the suburbs of Sapporo. This was once the main venue for the Sapporo Olympics. During the Meiji era, the entire town was one big ranch. It was a massive dairy farming area. We visited a building closely connected to a man who spent his life laying the foundations of dairy farming. Edwin Dunn, called the father of dairy farming. Dunn was raised on a large ranch in Ohio in the U.S. and invited to Sapporo as an expert on dairy farming. In 1873, he arrived in Yokohama with an entourage of 100 sheep and 40 cows. Later, he was posted in Hokkaido and opened a ranch in Makomanai. This building, which served as the offices of the ranch, has been turned into a museum of his achievements.
What is this? Isn't this the model barn?
A building that looks similar to the model barn at Hokkaido University. What is it doing here?
When the modern barn at Hokkaido University was being built, Edwin Dunn provided a lot of help. That was the first in the country, and the second in Makomanai was built by Edwin Dunn.
Dunn taught the people of Hokkaido the ins and outs of dairy farming, including how to care for and selectively breed cattle. He showed people how to milk cows and is said to have had a hard time convincing people to taste the milk.
Edwin Dunn not only built this model barn, but also a massive ranch that used to cover the entire area.
Just how big was Dunn's ranch? There's a place to find out. The Self-Defense Force. In 1882, when the Development Commission was closed, management of the ranch was transferred to the Hokkaido Prefectural Office. And in 1946, a year after the end of the Second World War, it was requisitioned by the U.S. military. Now it serves as one of the camps of the Japanese Self-Defense Forces. The land that spreads out across the distance was once the ranch built by Dunn. The total area is 3,000 hectares, or the size of 1,500 football fields. Before leaving Hokkaido, Dunn is said to have told the people, "My fellow pioneers, one day this land will become the sanctum of dairy farming." Motivated by those words, his students began transforming Japanese dairy farming and food culture. In Ebitsu, about 20 kilometers east of central Sapporo, a certain barn has been preserved. Built in 1928, it is equipped with a so-called king-type ventilation system. With this system, a fan is first built into the wall to bring in outside air. Since air from the outside is cool, it flows to the bottom of the barn. The unclean air inside the barn is warmed by the body heat of the cows and flows up through a duct and to the roof. Then it escapes through the chimney. This system, which takes advantage of the temperature difference inside and outside the barn, was first proposed by Professor Franklin King of the University of Wisconsin and was considered revolutionary at the time. This barn was built by Hirotaka Machimura. He is still considered the father of cow raising among farmers across Japan. So why is he so revered? To find out, we visited the Machimura Ranch in Ebitsu.
Hello. This is such an open and refreshing place.
The ranch is now managed by his grandson, Hitoshi Machimura.
This is the barn zone.
They're very big.
This one weighs about 650 kilograms.
Wow. Is that considered big?
About average.
That's average.
We then asked him what we came here to find out. So why was his grandfather called the father of cow raising?
My grandfather loved cows. He put a lot of effort into selectively breeding dairy cows so that they produce more milk and to make sure they would stay fit. even if milked every day.
Hirotaka Machimura entered the Sapporo Agricultural College in 1903. After graduation, he traveled to the US and spent 10 years studying dairy farming. Returning to Japan, he began importing high-grade Holsteins from the US to breed dairy cows. In the mid-1960s, 70% of dairy cows in Japan are said to have come from the Machimura Ranch. As someone who set the standard for Japanese dairy cattle, Hirotaka Machimura's reputation is well-deserved.
So cute. Is this a calf?
It is. It's only about a week old.
That young?
Do you want to feed it?
Is it okay?
All the food that these calves eat after they graduate from milk is produced at the farm. High-quality feed means high-quality cows. This is also an idea promoted by Hirotaka Machimura.
Just a little bit more. You can do it. Good job.
What Edwin Dunn taught the early pioneers was passed down to the Machimura family. And the cows bred by Hirotaka Machimura have been inherited by dairy farmers throughout Japan. There's another person who learned from Dunn and the Machimura farm to develop the dairy industry. Santaro Utsunomiya, the founder of what would later become the Snow Brand Milk Products Company. In 1891, Utsunomiya became the first in the private sector to successfully manufacture butter and to turn it into a massive business. How was butter made during those days?
This is called a hand churn machine. You put cream in it and use the handle to rotate the barrel.
The hardened product is then kneaded with this machine, and removing the moisture, turned into butter. Over 20 kilograms of milk would be put in at one time. It would be churned for 2 hours, 4 to 5 times every day. Despite being the most advanced American equipment, the work was still physically grinding. Utsunomiya began butter sales in 1925. It was a time when most people still hadn't heard of or seen milk.
At first, to get people to know about butter, they marketed it to department stores in Tokyo. They gave out samples, but people didn't know how to eat it. One woman is said to have opened the carton, stared at it, then proceeded to rub it into her hair. No one bought it, and there was a mountain of unsold products.
To get people to know about butter, they decided to distribute cookbooks on Western food. The cookbooks even suggested that Western food on the dining table might bring families closer together. Cream soups, hamburger steaks, and omelets. All dishes that used butter and milk and are familiar to most Japanese now. It could be said that milk has expanded the breadth of Japanese food culture. And that was made possible by the efforts of the pioneers who put down the roots of dairy farming in Hokkaido.
The development of Hokkaido began with the modernization of Japan. The adoption of American-style agriculture and the westernization of food culture gave birth to a cuisine unique to this place. Even now, a century and a half later, the knowledge passed down by the early pioneers are being carried into the future by the people of Hokkaido.
I see. Well, Hokkaido cuisine is popular throughout Japan now, but I didn't know how closely connected it was with Japan's modernization.
It is surprising, isn't it? And you can even see the historical influence even today.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of Channel Japan. We have much more in store for you, so join us again next week.
Together, let's generate happiness. Let's raise the world to new heights. Let's carry our dreams further. At the heart of society, Toshiba Technology. For a growing future, Toshiba. Together, let's create better healthcare. Let's develop a sustainable environment. Let's give children a promising tomorrow. At the heart of society, Toshiba Technology. For a growing future, Toshiba.
The view is almost like peering down on the star-filled night sky at your feet. It's the city at night seen from a height of 450 meters. Make unforgettable memories. City lights stretching for as far as the eye can see. Find it at Tokyo Skytree.
For Earth for Life, Kubota. One day has finished, and one new day has started on somewhere in the world. Kubota supports every moment somewhere out in the world. By the mechanization of agriculture, by the maintenance of water infrastructure, by the latest environmental engineering. We support a prosperous life for humans while protecting the environment of this beautiful Earth. Food, water, and the environment link the world. Kubota.
Channel Japan. Your source for the voices and views of people and businesses across Japan. The latest reports on Japanese companies, culture, and technology. Find out what's happening on the ground. Every week, direct from Tokyo, Channel Japan.